Hey guys, so in this pre-recorded video, I'm going to show you guys how to set up Windows Server 2022 properly. But just before that, we're going to have a prerequisite class where I'm going to teach you guys how to download VirtualBox, where to go and download VirtualBox. And there's actually a mathematical calculations that you need to do when you're trying to set up a Type 2 hypervisor. You probably already have seen a video previously on Type 2 and Type 1 hypervisor. Type 2 hypervisors are more meant for development and testing and development purposes to be run on not a commercial equipment, on a consumer equipment, right? So this is meant to be running on top of your personal operating system, which could be it could be Windows operating system or Mac operating system. I hope you're not using Linux as your consumer operating system, as it's not a consumer-friendly operating system. Okay, but let's get started. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that you should be understanding when you're trying to create a Type 2 hypervisor on your consumer electronics. Okay, and a couple of languages that I want you guys to get used to is host machine and virtual machine, host OS and virtual OS. Okay, these are the languages that you guys should be using going forward for these courses. Okay, right. So let's get started. Let's talk about host OS and virtual OS and host machine and virtual machines. Okay, so when we say host, it is actually your device that's going to run this, right? So the laptop I'm setting this on or desktop I'm setting this on, right? Setting this up, it's the host. It's where the virtual machine gets run, right? So when we say the host operating system, I'm running a Windows 11 Pro on this computer, which I'm talking to you right now, which I'm going to run the Windows, Windows Server 22 in a virtual OS, in a virtual machine itself. Okay, so differentiated, and that's how I'm going to address it too. Okay, host operating system or host machine, or virtual machine or virtual operating system itself. Okay, now there's another formula that you need to understand. It's called a 60/40 formula. Okay, so let me just share my screen to you so you can start seeing what I'm going to teach you. All right, now I became mini. You can start seeing my screen now. Okay, so let me delete these files from here. Perfect. So what we're going to do is, first thing is, I'm going to open up a notepad here to show you. It's called 60/40 rule. Okay, so which means your host computer, your host PC, I'm just going to call it personal computer, will always get 60%. Okay, and your virtual PC or virtual machine VM will get only 40%. Okay, and you can be like, okay, what do we mean by 40%? What do you mean by 60%? Right? So any resources. When we mean by resources, these are the main resources you can think about, the main three pillar, which is your CPU, your RAM, your storage. Okay. So these three can be shared up to 40%. Okay. So let's see how you're going to find them, and let's see how you're going to evaluate them, right? Because you need to know. So the easiest thing on a Windows computer is going to be, I'm going to be, this class is mainly going to be about Windows computer. Okay, if you have a Mac, you need to do some research and learn it. But this is what you need to understand. Okay, you'll go into your start menu and type in Task Manager. You'll open up a Task Manager. Okay, Task Manager has majority of the information which we need to determine where is the 60%, what is the 40% we can use for virtual machines, because it can mean that within the 40% you can run 400 machine if you can, right? But you just cannot exceed the 40% threshold. If you can run, yeah, good for you. Go ahead and run it, right? Which you can't really, but if you can, you have to stay within 40%. The maximum that you can go, which I don't recommend, is 50%. Okay, so 50/50. I don't recommend that. I don't like that. Okay, so I always try to keep it on the 40% mark. Okay, so let's go. I'm just going to go ahead and make this over here. Okay, so then make this over here, and I'm going to extend this more so you can start seeing a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to put in the actual output in the first one, and this is what I have, what I can use. Okay, and I'm going to show you the mathematical calculations that you can do. So the easiest way you can do is open up a task manager. I'm using Windows 11 Pro, Windows 10, same thing. I hope you're not using Windows 8 anymore. You shouldn't be using Windows 10 at this point, and you should not be using Windows 7 at this point, right? So I hope you're using Windows 11. So you go into performance. The first thing we're going to get is the CPU information. Okay. So where you see the CPU, you click on this, and you see on top right over here, I have a 13th generation Intel i5 13 for you. For this course, as long as you're above the generation 8 or generation 7 laptops, you should be more than enough. Okay, minimum you need up to I would say 6 to 8 cores minimum for this course to be for you to run peacefully, right? But you can run this on a 4 core as well. I've seen people run this on a 4 core, just slightly slower, but you still get the job done. Okay. So in this one, what we're going to do is this. We're going to write down what I have is I have 10 CPU core. I don't care about generation at this point, but if you see, let me move my face out of here so you can start out. I'll put it in the middle so you can see this. Okay. So you can see here that I have 10 cores here, right? You can see this here. And you can see I have 12 logical processor. Okay. These two information going to be very useful for us. And then the third information that you need to just make sure you memorize this or you just look at it is the virtualization. If this says this is disabled, you're gonna have to go on Google or YouTube and type in. I have Dell 5410, Dell 5410. How to enable virtualization for Dell 5410. Let's say if you can't find it, you know the rule of thumb for our classes, right? If you can't find it, you tell us what you have done. Can you walk us through? Yes, we'll help you. But if you just ask us how to do it, you will not get a reply from me. Okay. But this says virtualization enabled. And I'll tell you this right now, 99.9% of the computer, consumer or commercial grade computer that's coming out right now will have virtualization enabled. If you don't have it enabled, if you have like a Celtron processor, or one of those some of those very low end processor, yes, they're not capable of running virtual machines. Okay, so it must be at least i3, i5, or i7 or i9 as well, right? But and AMD as well. Like, there's a lot of powerful AMD machines nowadays. So um, as long as it's one of those CPUs that are able to do, and you can see this on your screen, you should be able to. You're more than enough. Okay, so I have 10 cores, 12 logical processor, and I do have virtual machines enabled. Virtual machine enabled, you don't have to write it down anywhere. Just see that it is, because if this is disabled, you cannot run virtual machine until you turn it on. And for you to turn it on, you have to turn it on in the BIOS. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to type in 10, and this is how they usually write it: 10/12. It means there's 10 cores, 12 logical processor. Okay. And the next thing is we're going to go into RAM. And the RAM, if you just look on top over here, it tells me I have 32 gigs of RAM here. Okay. So which is a very good amount of RAM. You don't have to have that much of RAM. Okay. As long as you have 16 gigs of RAM, you should be okay for this class. Okay. You don't have to have anything more. You can still get away with 8, but I would suggest you have 16. Okay. All right. So here I'm going to write in 32 gigs. Okay. And storage, and this is the tricky part about storage. This is what a lot of people get confused about storage is. So let's say if I go into disk over here, right? This says I have 900 gigs, which means technically speaking, with the 40% rule, I can use up to 400 gigs, right? If you think about one TB, 932, about 300 something, 380 or something that I can use, which is not the right mathematical calculation you can do. It's because we don't calculate already used data on our storage, right? Because of my computer here. So I'm gonna just the way how I'm going to tell you to do it is open up your. Let me move this back over here. So let's open up folder here, and you're gonna go into this PC, and you see the window a local disk C, right? If you have other hard disk, yes, you can go ahead and save it there. But for me, I only have one hard disk in the computer. I'm gonna take a look at it. Okay. So the whole total space that I can use on this SSD NVMe hard drive is 930 gigs. Well, but I've already used. Let's say if you go click on here and click on Show Options, Properties, you can see here I've already used 270 gigs, and I'm going to round it up. I'm going to say 300 gigs. Okay. So which means I have roughly around 300 gigs. I'm going to say I'm going to round it down to. So it says I have free 658, but I'm going to round it down to 600 gigs. Okay, on the safe plane. So which means I realistically have only 600 gigs in hand. Okay, I'm not going to write down 930 gigs. I'm going to put in 600 gigabyte. Okay, so I can only use 40% from the 600 gigabyte. So let's do the math here. Easy math is 10 divided by 4, or 10 divided by 0.40 is 4 we can use. And then for this too, it's going to be 12 when you divide it by 0.4 time multiply by 0.4, which the calculation will go like this. If you're just not familiar, I'll show you here. 10 times by 0.04 or 0.4, which will give you 4. CPUs core you can use, and logical processor 12 divided by 0.4, which is 40%, is equal to 30, which is 3. Okay. Sorry, you don't have to divide. Sorry, you don't divide, you multiply. My apologies. 12 multiplied by 0.4. 12 multiplied by, sorry, wait, 12 multiply, oh yeah, I know what's happening. Sorry. Okay, there you go. 12 multiply, oh no, I have the functions turned on. Let me, oh, it's not scientific. Just go to standard. There you go. Just go to standard. 12 multiplied by 0.4, which is 4.8 logical cores, but I'm going to round it down and keep it at 4. Okay. Remember, don't round up. You always want to round down and stay in modest level. Okay. It's only if you're desperate you use the last bit, and that's how it's supposed to be. Okay. So same math here. We do 32 times by 0.4, which gives us 12.8. I'm going to keep it at 12 gigs. Okay. 12 GB usable. And storage, same thing here. 600 multiplied by 0.4, 240 gigs. I'm going to again write down 200 gigs here, okay, that I can use, which is more than enough. As long as you have about 150 gigs, more than enough. As long as you have, let's say, even if you have 16 gigs of RAM, if you do the math here, which gives you around 6 gigs, more than enough. If you have 8, which will give you, if you have 8 gigs of RAM, which will give you around 3 gigs of RAM, which is still, you can still run it. It'll just be slightly slower, but you can make it work, okay? Not a big deal. But anything less than, if you have anything less than 8, you can't do it. You have to have minimum 8, okay? And you must have at least 6 cores, in 6 to 8 cores, okay, in your CPU. You can still work with 4, it will be slightly slower. And if you're okay with that, totally fine. Or you can get the virtual private service, VPS, okay? From there's a lot of these places that you can get virtual private servers, and you can message us, and we'll tell you, we'll give you some links, and it's not too expensive if your computer is not thing. And at the end of this, I'll show you some things as well. Okay, but this is a math that you should be calculating to make sure that you what is your capacity on your computer you can run, and the maximum at any given point you can, as long if you want to run 12 different virtual machines with each with 1 gigs, and if you can give it like 0.5 CPU, yeah, go ahead if you can, right? But like logically speaking, for this portion of this course, we will be running 2 operating system at the same time. Okay, we'll not be running anything more. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you is where to go and download virtual boxes, because in the past some people have had trouble. I'm just going to open up a normal web browser. You can use whatever your favorite browsers. I'm using Google Chrome here. You're more than welcome to use Internet Edge, Firefox, Brave, Opera, whatever it is. Okay, doesn't matter. I'm going to go and search here on Google or where it is, virtual box. And VirtualBox is an open source type 2 hypervisor. Okay, so I'm going to click here, VirtualBox. And if you can go ahead and read through this. It's very good information you can read from here. Plus, this is open source as well. Okay, and you can click on download. And this is the thing you have to be careful here. You're going to have 2 sections you can download from. One is called VirtualBox Platform Packages, and one is called VirtualBox Extension Packages. You do not need to install VirtualBox Extension Packages. This is an additional, it's an add-on to the actual software itself. This will not work by itself, okay? So you'll need to download from here. If you're using Windows, you can just download from Windows host. If you're using Mac, the newer ones are Apple Silicon host. The older ones are Intel, so you just need to find whichever is appropriate and install it. If you have Linux, you can do this, but for this course, we're going to be heavily looking at Windows host stuff. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And this is how you would click on this, and you download it, and you'll just download it to your downloads, and you would go ahead and run it and install it. Running and installing it is the same thing as any other program itself. It's a very straightforward process. I don't think we need to cover that here, but you can go ahead and install it. If you have any issue, as I said, you need to provide full screenshots of the screen, and you can always use a tool called snipping tool. Okay, it's on the Windows, it's called snipping tools right over here, and it'll come like this. Second, snipping tool. Let me open it up here. It'll open up like this. You would just click on new. And you just take a full screenshot of the whole screen itself, okay? And then send us to email. But also you need to send us what went wrong. what you have done research on to see what is the issue, and if I can point you in the right direction. I will never give you the right answer right away. I'll always point you in the right direction for you to learn. Okay, so and then the next video you should be watching right after this is how to install your first Windows Server 2022 or whatever Windows Server OS you're going to try to install. Our OS you're going to try to install. Click on the video and watch that so you can get that started so you can meet in the live class or in the other pre-recorded classes.